Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Ulterior Motives with Carrie. I am Carrie. My motive today is to make this cool paper ornament with beads and a little jingly charm and a sequin and some thread. So I created this pattern, just this little thing. That's all you need to make it, and some tools. So you'll need some scissors, you might need a ruler bigger than that, a score thingy or a scoreboard, ideally if you have a 12-inch one, but I have a shorter one and I was able to make that work. And then a cutting thingy, a slicer, cutter thingy, and of course one sheet of 12 by 12 scrapbook paper or similar. You can use regular paper, but cardstock works better. It's sturdier. I think it would still work okay with regular 12 by 12 paper. It just wouldn't be quite as sturdy. So another thing about the paper is you want it to be not directional. Like this works because it's just an all over pattern. It doesn't matter which way you turn it, it's the same. Something like this is not going to work as well because you will have to cut a couple of the pieces a different direction than the rest of them. So it would look a little weird to have some of the pieces a different direction with this paper because it is directional. It matters, you know, which way you turn it, it's going to look different. Okay? So, first I just quickly want to show you how easy it is to create your own pattern like this. Okay? I actually did not know this was going to fit on one sheet of 12 by 12 paper until after I did it. But it turns out to be the perfect size, which is 4 3/4 by 1 1/8, which, you know, if you double it, it's 2 1/4 wide. But the half is 1 1/8. So all I did was I looked at Pinterest and some fabric that I have just for an idea of some fancy ornaments. Like, you know, this looks a little bit like an old vintage ornament, the shape anyway. So that's what I was going for. So I grabbed some round things that I have, and then I just started tracing them. Now where's my pencil? Okay, so I wanted to start with, you know, a bigger thing at the top. So I just traced part of this, not all the way around, because we're only doing half of it. And then I wanted a smaller round thing somewhere below that. So I traced that. And then I wanted some straight lines like between those. Oops, that's not very straight. Okay, like that. And then another one down here. And then I wanted to end it with a pointy bit. So I just angled this and kind of drew like that. I know it doesn't look like much, but then I kind of made it into a half a thingy. Actually, that's a little bigger than a half, isn't it? That circle. So I might want to retrace that one a little farther in, like that. But you get the idea. So, you know, then I just cut that out. This is probably about the same size as what I have. Yeah, isn't that funny? That's almost exactly what I did. Okay, So I cut that out just out of regular paper, and then I put it on some cardstock and actually cut it out with it folded so that I had two sides, and then glued those together. So it's, you know, a little bit sturdier than just a flimsy piece of paper. And so then after designing it, then I found some paper that would work like I just explained. And now I know how to cut it since I've already done this. So I will tell you. Let me put this, I gotta put this so my inches are where you can see them. Okay. So the first cut we make is 2.5 inches off of one side. So 2.5, and it doesn't matter which side since they're all the same. So we cut that off, and then we cut it in half this way, 6 inches, which we need that. Okay, 6 inches. So let's cut that. And now we will set those aside. That's 2 pieces. Then we cut this in half, and it is now, I cut 2.5 inches off of it, so it's now 9.5 inches wide or long, whatever. And so we're going to cut that in half, which is 4 3/4 inches. 4 3/4 right there. Okay. So those should be the same. Yes, they are. And now we're going to cut each of these into smaller pieces that are 2 3/8 wide. Okay. So let's just let's see, 2 and 1 2 3/8 right there. Cut, and we'll just keep cutting these. Okay, so now we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, and we'll have a little bit extra, like these are longer than they need to be, but that's fine. We'll get a couple little pieces out of that. But the next step is to score your pieces. And actually, yeah, now that I have cut these all, it'll fit fine on my scoreboard, so that's good. So the key to this is to score first, then trace, because it's really hard to get the score line lined up with the tracing if you do it that way. If you trace first and then try and get your line right next to the line, try and get your score line right next to the tracing line, that's hard. So it's easier to score first, then trace. But you do need this. You want to kind of eyeball where's about half, you know. So I see that it's right about Now I wonder, okay, if this, yeah. So these are a little wider than they need to be, so you have a little bit of leeway. But try to get it as close to the half as you can. Meaning, try to, when you hold this on the paper, try to get your score line as close to that line as possible, which right here is close enough. So we will do that. Score it. Come Okay, so if I flip this, I can see that yes, it is wide enough, it will fit. Okay, so you do have a little bit of leeway. So then you're going to fold it with the good side in, and now you trace it, okay? Because it's much easier to do it this way, like I said. Trace, pencil. Okay, and you can cut it just in, whoops, let's move that closer to the fold. You can cut just inside the line. Or really just on the line is fine. And this way, when you cut it, both sides will be exactly the same when you cut it folded, you know? So let's go ahead and cut it out. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, and there you have one piece. Alright, so just do the same thing with the rest of these babies. You'll just have a couple scraps left. Now, they'll be about this size total. So you use most of the paper, I mean aside from like this that you cut it out of. Okay, so cut the rest of these and I will meet you back here. Okay, I'm back. I have cut out all 12 of my pieces. Hopefully you are done with yours as well. And I've got my glue. I got a bunch of beads out. I've got, what's really nice, if you have some charms, it's really nice to hang one on the bottom. It looks really cool and it dangles nicely. If you have a jingle bell, that works nice. I happen to have some of these little, I think they're Indian bells, which I used on this one, but I think I'm going to use a star on the one I'm making now because I really like those stars. Okay, so we're going to glue all but one of these together, and then we will put the strand in the middle with the beads and charm. So I would suggest getting your stuff, your beads and charms and whatnot ready, and then start gluing. So I'll just show you how to do a couple of these. It's pretty easy. It's pretty self-explanatory, really. And like I said, don't worry, you know, if there's like a millimeter showing, like here you can see there's an imperfect spot, but you really don't see it. Once it's all put together, nobody's going to be looking at it that closely and be like, oh, you made a mistake or it's not perfect. It's the overall look that I think makes it. So with that in mind, let's get gluing. So what I do is use my finger tool. Ooh, and I think I put too much glue on here. Let's put some on this one too. Okay. But you basically put it on the one half and then stick it to another one. Try and get your edges. Yeah, this is definitely too much glue. Got a little carried away there. Okay, let's grab the dry one. Alright. And for the first two, anyway, you can use the table to line them up, you know, for the bottom edge. Alright, and then you just press the edges together. see this one's a little bit off. But that's okay. Okay, there we go. I think that's good. On to the next one. Well, that dried already. Wow, I didn't think that would dry that fast. Okay. Now you're going to have to not use the table. That only works for the first two. Now you got to use your fingers and eyeballs. Come on. Oh, that's not cooperating. Okay, that looks good. I think I got the edges. Alright. And what you can do is just hold it down. This is probably easier than holding it up in the air like I was. Okay. I think that one on pretty good. Oh, it's good to look at both sides too, because it can look good from one side and then this side does not look so good. So I'm gonna undo that because there's too much white showing. Now don't panic, you won't be able to see any of this after I glue it, so do not worry. We will fix it. I've done this before. Keep those little tabs in there. Okay, so now I'm going to try matching it from the outside. So maybe it is better to do it this way. I don't know. You just have to see which way works better for you. Okay, that looks better. Yep. Alright. Next. And this does get your fingers all messy, but luckily the PVA glue, when it dries, you can just rub it off. So no biggie. I'm moving it a little bit. Got a little no leeway. Whoop. That end is not on. girly. There we go. Okay. Okay, I think it's actually working better to start matching up down at the bottom and then work your way up. It's usually working better for me anyway. Okay, so I'm on my last one here. I'm gonna go ahead and glue it on. I'm just not gonna close it yet. All right. Okay, so that's what it looks like. That's what it will look like. So let's work on the loop. Now I have used thread, like this is perlé embroidery thread. So is, well, I don't think it's perlé, but it's some kind of embroidery thread. It's not separatable into different strands, but I found some beading thread, so I'm going to use that this time. Okay, I got most of the glue off my hands. Most. So you're going to need you want to cut off more than you're going to need. Okay, but let's see how much. I want to end up with about that much, so I will probably cut off about that much. So that is a little over 18 inches. Okay, so we want the star on the bottom. So that's the only thing, well, except for the buttons. The beads, you're going to thread both strands through. Okay. Okay, that's good. So, like I said, we're going to thread both strands through the beads that are going to be above this star. So, I think I want this bead first. Oh, that's right. And here's the easy way to thread the beads on. If you have one of these needle threaders, you can stick it through your bead and then put your strands through the needle threader. If I can see it. Oops, no, not there. One escaped. Need to get it through farther. Okay. And I shall grab it so it does not come off. And then pull the bead so the thread goes through. So that way you can avoid having to use a needle. And that's what it'll look like. Okay. And then I'm going to put, I don't know if I want this thing on. I think I'll just do the sequin. I have these fun sequins that I got. I think I got them from Manto Fev. I have a haul video on that a few videos back. I got a bunch of charms and a few other things, but mostly charms, things to embellish like the sequins. Okay, let's do this again. I could have done it through both of them at the same time, but sometimes it's easier to do one bead or whatever at a time. Okay, got that one. Yep, I like that. Now we're gonna put, let's do this red bead. That's my husband sneezing. Okay, so I am using it to go through both of these beads since they're small. I just gotta make sure I get both strands through there. Alright, got both of those through. And that, I think, is enough for the bottom. So now we shall glue this together. So we're going to put a little glue in the middle and then glue on one side. Just a little. You. And let's do it on this side. Okay, get my towel. Alright, and we kind of lay this in here. You'll still be able to pull it once you put the sides together. Be able to pull it a little through the middle, but try and get it as close as where you want it. Whoops. I don't want those up there. Okay. So those are down. Now if we can fit these. Oh, and I didn't start at the bottom like I told you. Now these are a little bit wonky. Nope, I do not like that. Pull that apart. Okay, let's try again. Are a little bit off kilter, like they don't quite match up, but we'll do the best we can. It is tricky. Well, I think that's better. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's all right. Get that out of there. Okay, and then we want this to stay in the middle. And pull it up a little bit. There we go. So that is flush with the bottom. Now on the top, you can tie a knot at this point, but you don't have to. And if you're going to put a button on, depending on how thick your thread is, it might be better if you don't, because then it won't sit flat. The button won't sit flat. Okay, now at this point I am going to separate the strands again to get through the button. And I have to decide which button I want. That one, which is bigger, or that one. I think I'm going to go with that one. Okay, which has 2 holes. So 1 strand in each hole. Come on. Okay, that's how it will look. And I'm happy with that, so I'm gonna, let's see, I'm gonna put another button on top of that. I think I'll put this one. Seems like closer to the color of the paper. So, let's see if I can do this. I don't think I can do it standing that up. 1 through each hole. There we go. Grab that one. Okay, that looks good. Now I have a red bead. I'm going to go through with both strands. So I think we need the needle threader. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So that's what that's going to look like on top. I'm happy with that. So now I will tie a knot. A couple of knots, actually. I've got more glue stuck on my fingers. Okay, so I'm going to pass this through here a couple of times. Come on. There we go. Okay, and then before I pull it, I'm going to put the needle in there to hold it down close to the bead so I can get the knot as close to the bead as possible, the top bead. And I think that is it. And then the last knot is going to go up here so that we have kind of a loop to put it on a tree or whatever. I mean, you could still use a hook in the loop if you wanted to, but I want to at least give the person who's going to get this the option to use this built-in loop. That looks pretty good right up there. And then we'll just trim this. And then I'm going to put a little bit of glue on each one of these knots just so that they will stay, so they don't have any chance of unraveling. But that is it. That is all done. And then you can fluff it up, you know, bend the panels so that they are a little bit more equally distributed, but that's it. That's the whole ornament. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you will make one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!